My name is Dontera Terrell, and I am the editor-in-chief of the Buckeye Review, and I am sitting here with the amazingly talented five-time double ACP Image Award-winning actress, singer, advocate, mom. I mean, the resume just keeps going on. Tatyana Ali. So, how are you today? How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm actually at the Black Maternal Health Caucus in Illinois, and it's just, yeah, so much of the Black maternal health advocacy that I've been doing. Also, there's an incredible legislation here, Momnibus bill, and they're just all the minds coming together. It feels very inspiring and very hopeful, and it's really nice to be in a huge room full of people, different industries and different facets of this thing, coming together.
Yes, I was going to ask you, how was the energy there?
Oh, the energy is hopeful. It's radical in some ways. It's intellectual. It's heart, a lot of heart, a lot of people coming to this issue with personal stories,
Mhm.
um, and a lot of know-how.
For sure, absolutely. I know we can tune in virtually. So I
Yes,
plan on tuning in after we get off our call. So
yes, it's streaming virtually. Yes, yes.
well, I first want to start by saying congratulations on being inducted as a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Uh,
Thank you.
so why was becoming a Zeta a perfect fit for you?
They have a history of just incredible work, especially in healthcare and looking after the health of our community. So that was a natural fit for me. I just love the spirit of the sisterhood and the spirit of the sisters that I've met, um, even up to before becoming inducted. Um, Down to earth, roll your sleeves up, get work done, and I was very honored. I was very honored. It didn't hurt too that Zora Neale Hurston was Zeta.
Yeah, no, didn't hurt, not at all.
It's like one of my favorite authors
Exactly, mine
and
too.
thinkers.
Mine too.
Yeah.
And you mentioned sisterhood. So, what does sisterhood mean to you, and how has it shaped your life?
Sisterhood. I love the company of women. I really do, which is super funny because I live in a house full of a man and boys, and I'm the only woman there, and I love them too. But I grew up with sisters. My mom has many sisters. I have aunties. My grandmother had many sisters. So you know, women have a way of supporting and caring for one another. That's really important to me. It's kind of like lifeblood to me. I can't go too long without it. So yeah, sisterhood is like air.
I
I'm not like over exaggerating. It is.
No, I agree. I'm the youngest of four. I have three older sisters. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And my dad, poor guy, he was the only guy growing up. And I remember
Same with my dad.
we purchased a dog. And of course, her name was Sparkle. And I remember my dad saying, "Come on, the dog has to be a girl too." He was So, yes, sisterhood is very important around here. Okay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And there's also just there's such incredible power in sisterhood, and that special way that we do our work and that we do our work together.
Mhm.
It's incredibly powerful.
It is very powerful and inspiring to your point earlier, empowering, you name it. And I want to quickly switch gears. Now, you've been acting since you were 4 years old. What
Mm-hmm.
lessons from your early career have stayed with you?
Lessons from my early career, probably the I was acting. I'm from New York, so I was, going to casting sessions with my mom, like in New York City, up and down, taking the subway, taking the train from Long Island where we lived, and just hard work probably is the and sustained effort. And I don't want to say hard work like, but yeah, actually pounding the pavement, not taking no for an answer.
Mhm.
Um, that is something that I've kept with me. It's been one of the greatest lessons. And then also, I really had the blessing of like being a storyteller at a young age and being a part of storytelling. And I love that. I'm passionate about kind of like the science of storytelling, why people feel what they feel when they watch something or read something or interact with something, and the stories that we can tell and provide, and the influence that it has, the cultural influence, and emotional change we can create in people.
Thank you for bringing that to light, just the power of storytelling. Um,
Yeah.
because I didn't even think about it in that framework, but you're absolutely right. You are a storyteller, and you're bringing these characters to life and evoking emotions, within the audience and just connecting with them all the time.
Yes, yes. Even, even Baby Yams, the company that I just started, and that venture, that is very much storytelling. It's storytelling through textile. It's just another medium. But hoping to kind of infuse joy, heritage, a sense of history, pride, being able to say who you are wherever you are. If you have that baby blanket with you, that's storytelling is a big component of that. Who it's serving and why.
For sure, absolutely. And speaking of baby yams, let's jump into it. So I know on your website you stated, and in several interviews, you had a life-threatening delivery of your first baby boy. Do you mind, sharing a bit more about that experience and how it affected you, not only physically, but emotionally as well?
Yeah, I shared it actually this morning. I was on one of the first panels today at the caucus, and I can't thank um, uh, Representative Underwood and Representative Adams enough for just inviting me to be here. Um, I experienced obstetric violence at a hospital in LA during my first birth. And, I was held down by multiple people. I was, I guess you could say physically assaulted. I've never used that term before. But yeah, a doctor put rammed his forearm into the top of my belly. Um, they, my son was crowned and they pushed him back inside me. And he ended up spending 4 days in the NICU because of that. And when my husband and I left that hospital, we actually left in the middle of the night, at the very sign that our son was okay, and we left his in the dead of night as fast as we could before anything else happened. And so, I didn't really have the language for this, the language that belongs to this movement, or maternal care, Black maternal health crisis. I didn't have that language. So it was about a year before, I think maybe a little over a year before I actually started to even share my story. I didn't even realize, where my story fit. Um, so it's informed so much of my work since then, because I think it's just, like I've lived my life in the art, so I'm always like I'm always trying to, have been since I was a kid, trying to express the things in my spirit, and this is something that, I don't know any other way. Like I have to express it. So, but emotionally, and as I share this story, I also find there, I often come across, there are always many people in the audience who have experienced the same thing or similar things or have stories of their own. And so, and there's a trauma there, even now when I speak to you, there's a tremor in my voice. I can't help it. But you decide what you're going to do with what God gives you and the experiences that you have. And the thing I've decided to do, I'm very grateful that I have my life, that I have the life of my two boys. But what I'm doing with what happened to us is, making sure that it doesn't happen to anybody else. I'm trying my best.
Wow, thank you for sharing that and being totally like transparent with that. I
Mm-hmm.
like what tools and resources like did you use to kind of help you navigate the ebbs and flow, like the ups and downs and the emotional roller coaster, and like you said, just the trauma behind it.
Therapy is an amazing resource. Prayer, this work, actually vocalizing it, not keeping it internal, internalizing that pain or shame or what did I do wrong or what, no, giving it voice. Um, what else? Working with a midwife, a Black midwife, an amazing Black midwife named Rashal Lawler for my second birthing experience and my second pregnancy. Going through that process with her was very, very healing. And making these blankets is a huge part of my healing journey. I can't even tell you the joy it gives me.
Well, speaking of a midwife, can you tell us about the role your midwife played in your care and how her support differed from your previous experience with midwife?
Oh, yeah, the support is comprehensive. She treated me as a whole person. My meetings with her were not 15 minutes long or 10 minutes long. They were sometimes hours long. She answered every question I had. I was given every single choice. She asked before she touched me, every time she touched me, is it okay? Not having, you know, a vaginal examination every single time I went to her. Every time I went to my OBGYN, I had a vaginal examination. That didn't happen at all with my midwife. There was no need. I had a healthy pregnancy. She literally was like, that's not necessary. I remember being like, wait, I don't have to do this thing.
Right.
No. So, there was nothing about my pregnancy that made that necessary. Just personalized, culturally attentive, culturally attuned care. She knew my needs and she knew the needs of my family. Postpartum care, real postpartum care was a part of it and is so essential for us. Just a world apart, a world apart.
And for those who don't know, what is a midwife?
Mid-
Let's define what a midwife is.
yeah, midwives are, I'm like, am I qualified to do it? Midwives are licensed professionals
Mhm.
who can see, some are, there are midwives that work in hospitals. There are many midwives. The type of midwife I'm talking about works outside of hospitals. Some midwives work in birth centers. Some midwives work home births, do home births and work with you at home. And they are licensed, educated professionals in pregnancy, birth, and the postpartum period. Some are also lactate. Some also have expertise in lactation. Most do. It is the way, uh, especially for the Black community and the Indigenous community, it was the way we used to do things before. There's a whole history of Black midwifery and how Black midwives were sort of like licensed out and actually criminalized for doing their work.
Wow. I was introduced to,
And the outcomes then weren't what they are now. The outcomes are worse now.
the outcomes are worse.
Yes.
Okay. I, I had a friend years ago, and I remember she was pregnant, and she was talking about getting a doula and a midwife. And I'm so conditioned. I don't have any kids, but I've just been so conditioned throughout the years. I'm like, girl, why don't you just go to the hospital and have a C-section? Because I'm like, I just thought that was the only option. If you don't have a natural birth, get a C-section. And I didn't think twice about it. She's like, no. And then she started educating me on other alternatives and different options and just like, no, don't let them tell you, okay, we're scheduling your baby at this time, come here and you'll be done. She was like, explore everything, explore home births, explore having a midwife and a doula.
Exactly.
I was just like, girl, you're doing a lot. And then
After my emergency C-section, during my first birth, afterwards, during one of my postpartum visits, which were very short, I think there were only like two, my OBGYN informed me, okay, well, now you can only be pregnant about 4 times. So it also, so there are all sorts of things, there are all sorts of complications and things that happen with C-section. Sometimes C-sections have to happen, right? Babies come when they come, but we should be cared for properly. We should be cared for in a safe environment, and we should be cared for by people who do not have bias against us.
mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And I want to talk about the symbolism of quilting with the Quilt Project.
Yeah.
How do you see the act of quilting as a metaphor for community and collective support?
Oh, because everybody brings their pieces. Everybody brings their pieces. and you make something together that is used as a covering. So that's what it means for me. I made the prototype, I would call it, for these blankets when I was waiting for my second baby to be born and working with my midwife. I had visited a mom group and I had shared my story, and they gave me a beautiful gift basket. And instead of a basket, it was this Ankara fabric. And I took that fabric. I wanted to commemorate just how empowered I was feeling in my hopes and my dreams for my baby. And my husband and I wrote blessings in it. And I made a quilt out of it because I didn't have a lot of it. So I had to kind of put it with other cottons and other fabrics, which is how I make these, or how these are made. And yeah, that's you know, if and people, people who quilt makers use any kind of fabric. It can be the fabric from your grandma's nightgown, and it's just a beautiful art form. It can mean it just has tons of meaning, and there's something about fabric and textile, something that you can touch and feel and use, that just has there's a different quality to the message that's being expressed and being transferred.
And I feel like the tradition of quilting, just represents the mission of unity and healing. And to your point, just in terms of you can get your grandma holding on to that legacy, that history. And
Yes, and you don't have to have much, right? You take what you have and you bring it to the quilts, and it can be tiny pieces or it can be big pieces. It's what you have available to you to make something beautiful.
and this so now I'm thinking I lost my mom, but I'm like, and I always like wanted something, when I lost my mom, I just wanted
Yeah.
something touched before, like,
Yes.
oh, her notebook. I need it because she touched it. Oh my goodness, I'm touching the same notebook. But now I'm thinking, I'm like, I have some of her nightgowns. I have different items of hers, like clothing items. And I'm like, I can make this into a great quilt. And it could be great for my nieces, for myself, for my future kids.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
something to your point that you can touch.
Do
And
it. And there's something about the making, the sewing.
mhm,
It's very meditative. It's very, you should do that.
yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'll report back.
Mhm.
Now, we're going to wrap up here, but what roles can communities play in improving Black maternal health?
Ooh, what roles can community involvement and community participation in um, you know an expecting family's life, that is everything.
Mhm.
So there are incredible organizations, um, national organizations like Black Mamas Matter Alliance, Sister Song. Those are good ways to start if you don't know where to look, and then you can get into what's happening local. There are doula organizations, midwifery organizations. Some have been around for a very long time. Some are springing up all across the country, and that is really where all the dope stuff is happening. Like that's what I think. That's one of the things that's brilliant about the Momnibus and what Representative Underwood and Alma Adams have done. There's a lot of resource going to those community organizations. So that's the organizing part. In terms of community, in terms of knowing somebody, your neighbor, who's expected, who's whatever. I care for them. Ask them how they're doing. Ask them what they need. They might need, especially when their baby comes, food. You need me to come in and help with the laundry. You need me. That's how it used to be. And I think part of our health as a community, especially in regards to this issue and our family's health, part of that has to do with restabilizing that. That's as a non-negotiable. Like, we have to have that for ourselves, our community, because that's what it's about. I don't even think we're supposed to do it by ourselves.
Mm-hmm, I'm still I'm learning.
Mental health checks.
Yes.
all of that.
I've learned, and I was guilty of this in the past. I had a friend, a very good friend of mine. She had a baby, and I kind of stayed away for the most part.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
you're adjusting to your baby. I don't want to keep bothering you. You're adjusting to new mom life. And she's like, no, but I needed you. Even if you just called and I didn't pick up or just send a text. And she was like, anything.
yes.
Kind of like, I was like, well, I didn't want to be, you know, I
No,
didn't,
I understand. I understand. I remember when my one of my best friends, she lives across the country. She happened to be in town and she took the baby and she said, "Go take a shower." And I was like, "Oh, take a shower.
you're with
Bye."
it.
Bye. And then she gave him back to me when I was nice and clean. She said, "I'm gonna do the dishes. I'll be right back.
Yeah,
You want me to play some music?" I was like, "Oh,
you.
thank you." But it's something that it's kind of like we have to understand.
Yes. I,
Yeah.
I'm doing better. I've done better. So it's
Yeah.
a learning lesson for me because I was very hurt. I'm like, oh, wow.
You
I
didn't
didn't,
know. You don't know what you don't know.
right. So, yes.
Mhm.
Well, are there any other initiatives that you would like to discuss with Baby Yams or more information or
Oh no, child, that's it.
that's it?
Oh yes. Tell people to go to babyms.com. We have there's a whole holiday offering that's gonna be up in a little bit for the last quarter.
Uh-huh.
One thing I'd like to say is that we'll be announcing the recipients of the grants. That process is happening now with the first rounds of blankets. And so we'll be announcing that pretty soon.